Thanks to David for inviting me this evening. He said, come and talk about your career. And my first thought was, I'm not sure I've really had a career, but okay, we'll go with that. I've had lots of opportune moments that kind of turned into something which, on my better days, I call a writing career. So we'll go with that. So what can I say? I first started writing, I was 21 and at university, and a creative writing module came up. I was studying theatre at the time, and I was surprised by how much I wanted to do that. So I started writing for theatre and thought, yeah, that's great, but something's missing, so I started writing bad poetry. I think most people start there. Bad poetry became bad short stories, which became really bad romantic novels. And I wrote 3 of those before I thought I need to do something else. So my first thought was, I've always loved Shakespeare, and particularly King Lear. Why not rewrite King Lear? I mean, hey, how bad can it be? So that's where I started, by turning it into a novella, of all things, called Mean Mode Median. And at that point I'd come across UK authors and the people there, and one of the people involved with that was running a company called Blue Chrome that published books, and they published the first book. There's nothing quite like the first book out there. It's got an absolutely terrible cover, this version. They did release it with a slightly nicer cover later on. So that was amazing, and at that point you kind of think, oh well, that's it, I'm sorted now, that's it, amazing career lined up, thanks very much, which didn't actually happen. I went away and wrote more short stories, and at that point started to think, maybe you have to do that thing where you put in some hours and learn what you're doing. So I started to do that, and I read somewhere in a book recently about sports people who strive for sports excellence, that you need to put in 10,000 hours of practice before you're really good at something. And I think I believe that that's also true of writing. You need to put in a lot of hours to get decent at writing, and it needs to become the point where it stops being something you do consciously and you let it go and the story comes naturally to you after time. So there's some sort of weird bargain that goes on between the conscious and the subconscious, which I hadn't reached at the time I wrote 3 Things About Me, which is absolutely about my own life in that horrible way that first novels, or a second I suppose, often is. It's about working in an office and feeling like you should be doing something else with your life and not knowing what that is. But I was lucky with 3 Things About Me. I rewrote it a lot, and I'd come to understand that you need to rewrite to be decent at what you do if you're a writer. And I sent it off out of the blue to, as David mentioned, a new scheme run by Macmillan, which was called the Macmillan New Writers. And they were going to take 12 people out of however many applied and have the book properly published, put in bookshops, the whole deal. I was really luckily picked up under that scheme, and was delighted to see kind of the finished book out there in bookshops. Amazing. I did TV and radio interviews and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. And actually I was rereading parts of it on the train on the way up today and thought, it's not that bad. It's, it's okay in places, so that's quite nice. You can look back at your own stuff and think, that's okay. That's as good as it gets. But that was a 2-book deal, so after I wrote that, I wrote Light Reading. And then this was the point where I thought I could be a crime author. Yeah, I'm going to be a crime author. That's my calling. That's what I'm doing. Forget romance. Forget King Lear. No, that's serious now. So I wrote, a novel that I'm still quite proud of. And on the strength of this, I got an agent as well. And Macmillan put this one out as the second part of the 2-book deal. So at that point I was meant to be a crime novelist. It did pretty well. It says here Alina and Prue Mystery. That's because it was meant to be the first of a series. I wrote the second in the series, and I realised at that point that I wasn't the kind of writer who could write a series. So I handed that in, and everybody kind of looked a bit disappointed and said, go away and try again, which I did. I tried quite a few times, and at that point, the fact that I was a science fiction author started to occur to me, which is a bit of a weird one. But I think you can't always have much control over where writing takes you. And I've always loved science fiction. It's not like it was a new thing off the bat or anything. I've always loved it, but possibly thought it wasn't for me to write. But yeah, science fiction, all weird, speculative, things along that line. I had a difficult conversation with my agent at the time, which went, I really want to write science fiction, and she went, you're crazy, and we parted ways. And I started again from scratch at that point. And what did I do after that? Oh, here we go. I wrote science fiction short stories for a while. And then I discovered that there's a huge community of small publishers who love science fiction, love slightly different kind of writing. I was really enjoying what I was doing, and Doghorn Publishing published this one for me, Witchcraft in the Hari, which was my first collection of sci-fi short stories, or weird short stories, I suppose you could call them, which I really enjoyed writing. So I went on and wrote this one, The Beauty. It's as weird as the cover suggests it is, which is my first post-apocalyptic, weird kind of book. And I found a great publisher for that called Unsung Stories, and they put it out there in a big way, and it got shortlisted for a few prizes last year, which is amazing kind of validation of coming full circle. Really proud of that one. And then recently, Skane Island came out, which is a slightly longer speculative fiction novel. So yeah, that's kind of me. I guess it's been a long path of writing in pretty much every genre, but I felt I had to go wherever it took me, and I'm really quite proud of the results generally. So I guess I should have some advice. And I think the advice is write what your heart tells you to write, and don't follow money, because I don't think there necessarily is much money in writing for writers. But if you have something published that you're proud of and you like, maybe that's the best thing that can happen with writing, and certainly that's the happiest thing that's happened to me. So if there are any questions, very happy to have them. If not, then enjoy the rest of the evening.
So what's next?
Oh, I don't know yet, actually. I'm having a brief break and writing some more short stories. Oh wait, no, I do know. The Arrival of Missives of Missives is my first historical book, and it's published. Yeah, historical novel. It's set in 1920. In actual fact, I have to thank David for. I wrote something for the UK Authors Challenge, and we're on UK Authors. I wrote something set in 1920 with a female character I really liked. One of the challenges, and David said, "Oh, I think that's really great. I think that's, you've really written something good there." So I went off and turned it into a novel. So that's going to be published next May, which is very exciting. At the moment, I'm kind of writing on short stories again, but I don't know what I'll do with that. Maybe that'll be collected together again. We'll do that. But thanks.
And in the book, there's one of Aliya's stories in the book.
There is, yes.
Very surreal.
Yeah,
strange,
that's kind of where I am at the moment.
Because she's impossible to categorise, totally impossible.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Writing historical novels, must be very difficult, because you have to,
Yeah.
make people speak in the idiom of era.
I was really scared about it.
Yeah.
I was scared about it. And I have friends who are historical novelists, and I've always kind of said to them, I really admire what you do, I can't do that. And
how did you prepare to? Did you immerse yourself in the 1920s?
do you know what? I just got stuck in. I just went for it and then thought I can fix all these problems later. But in actual fact, there weren't too many problems, and I think suspension of disbelief is kind of key for that. I think if you have an entertaining voice, which immediately connects with somebody and they feel something for it, they tend to be quite forgiving in the reading. But certainly we're at the stage now where people are going through and looking up small details of 1920s behaviour and going, I don't think that would happen, and at which point I have to just put my hands and say, you caught me. That's fair enough, let's change it now. Which is why you have great editors, really, yeah.
The dreadful piece of advice that all, not advice, the dreadful piece of instruction that all new writers are given, find your voice. If you've reinvented sequentially what kind of writer you are, from romance to science fiction to detectives to historical, are you finding a different voice each time, or is your voice the same throughout?
I think I didn't know my voice
Right.
at the beginning, although I would have glimpses of it, I suppose. I think that's part of the 10,000 hours I was talking about, where you put in the time and then a voice comes. I would say out of the stuff I write now, possibly in the last 5 years or so, I would hope that anybody who knew my writing would read it and go, that's her, which is perhaps all you can aim for, is to have something recognisable. And I think that comes across even if you're writing post-apocalyptic or 1920, or there's something there where people will go, oh yes. And possibly when we talk about voice, we also talk about, in my case, something really unexpected happening, something that doesn't fit genre, or, I think it's difficult to kind of pigeonhole me as a writer, which perhaps that's become my thing, if we're honest, that I don't particularly fit in one particular genre. So, but yeah, you have to maybe put in your hours and find the voice that way. Hi.
What's the sort of time scale from idea to seeing it finally in print? How long does it take?
That really differs between projects for me. Something like 3 Things About Me took 2 years to write. The Beauty took 3 months. So it really differs depending on, those are very different books. So, and also the way I plot has changed depending on what I'm writing. So sometimes I don't even plot at all and just go free with it and see what turns up. Sometimes it's a good year of dedicated plotting and working out exactly what comes where in the sequence. So I can't say I've got a particular model that I work to there or how long it takes, but generally it's worked out, I would say, about a book a year overall. Yeah. Hi.
Can you remember the first thing you wrote something you were really proud of, that you thought, that I'm going to remember?
I remember finishing The Beauty and putting down the pen. As I say, that came very quickly, and just going, well, that's as good as I can do, which is possibly all you can hope for. But it's very rare, I think, to be satisfied with something you write. There's always room, even up to the point where you see them here. I was saying I was reading 3 Things About Me on the train and thought that's not bad. I also thought that could be better. So there's always, the voice in your head that says, I could do that better. So I have been proud of some of the short stories and The Beauty in particular, and also The Arrival of Missives next year. I think that's a fine piece of work. So yeah, some of it. Maybe it's not the lot in life to be proud as a writer. Maybe you just feel like that'll do and we'll move on, we'll put that down for now. Possibly. If we were satisfied with what we could do, maybe we wouldn't be writers.
I often feel kind of embarrassed, but I do actually quite enjoy some of the things I've written myself.
Sure.
I'm glad you're in the same camp.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't often reread things that I've written in the past, but it's nice when you do and you think, yeah, that wasn't so bad. I did quite a good job of that. So, and I love UK authors for having like a collection of comments afterwards that you can look at and go, oh, yeah, I agree with that or I disagree with that later. You know, it's a handy sort of resource to have. Hi.
Can you remember anything that helped or hindered you at school with your writing?
Yeah, I can actually. Weirdly, I was doing GCSE English and I loved creative writing, but never thought of it in a serious kind of way. And my English teacher wrote a report and put on it, does not have the creative capabilities that characterises an A-grade student. I think sometimes my entire career is based on that moment. Sometimes when you get told, you know, no, that's all you need. Yeah. I think meeting people at sort of a grassroots level early on who were helpful is a great thing, and also maintaining good friendships. The sort of writing and publishing is all about people who become successful from nowhere and run companies and do things like that. And if you build, I'm doing it a fair while now, you build a selection of people that you know, that you've been good to and they're good to you, and yeah, that certainly helps. To know where to send things to. If you write something and think, oh, I could send it to this person and they might enjoy what I do. And that's about kind of the long-term building of relationships, I think, is important. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.